This happened when I was just a kid, maybe 11 years old, on a sleepover at my friend Oliver's house. We lived in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where everyone knew everyone, except maybe for the oddball across the street. Oliver's yard was our personal sporting haven that afternoon. But lurking across the street, watching us like a hawk, was this skinny guy with messy blonde hair. Oliver mentioned he always seemed off, but hey, kids being kids, we shrugged it off and retreated inside for some classic video game action. Fast forward to bedtime. Curled up in my sleeping bag on the floor, I drifted off to the gentle hum of the highway in the distance. Then, a rude awakening. Dead silence, except for the occasional car whooshing by. But that's when I heard it, footsteps. Coming from downstairs. Panic clawed at my throat. Oliver's parents and sister were all tucked in. Who could it be? Then, the blood drained from my face, the footsteps were ascending the stairs, heading straight for Oliver's room, which was all the way down the hall. Peeking over the edge, I saw him. Oliver's creepy neighbor, slowly making his way to the room. Adrenaline kicked in. Oliver's door was inexplicably open. I scrambled over, slammed it shut, and, miracle of miracles, there was a lock. Just in time, as I heard the intruder fumbling with the doorknob on the other side. Shaking a still sleeping Oliver awake, I blurted out, "Your neighbor's in the house." Terror painted his face. No phone in his room. We were trapped. The neighbor, persistent and unsettling, continued jiggling the handle. Then, a new sound, the unmistakable click of someone picking a lock. Oliver, at his wit's end, started screaming, for the man to leave, for his parents, for help. I joined in, hoping his parents would hear the commotion. And it worked. The sounds at the door stopped, followed by the receding footsteps of our unwelcome guest. Moments later, Oliver's parents burst in, faces etched with concern. We recounted the horrifying ordeal, the police were called, and the neighbor, thankfully absent upon their arrival, was apprehended shortly after. Let me tell you, that was the wildest sleepover I've ever experienced. But hey, it brought us closer, right? And a lesson learned, always double-check the locks, folks. You never know who might be lurking in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to turn your innocent sleepover into a scene straight out of a horror movie. This happened when I was just a squirt, maybe 8 or 9 years old. We lived in a typical suburban sprawl, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business, except for maybe the weird new family across the street. One day, my mom drops this bomb: Alex, the new kid, is having a sleepover at our place. Now, I'd met Alex a few times, and let's just say, enthusiastic wasn't his strong suit. He wasn't rude exactly, but more like a walking social awkwardness cloud. Regardless, I agreed, figuring video games would break the ice. So, Alex arrives, his mom looking friendly enough, while Alex himself managed a barely there grunt. Upstairs we went, controller in hand, ready to conquer some virtual worlds. And for a while, it wasn't bad. We played, didn't talk much, which was fine by me. It was before online gaming, remember, so a human teammate was a rare treasure. Finally, bedtime rolled around. Alex unfurled his sleeping bag, we said goodnights, and I drifted off. The next thing I knew, darkness surrounded me, but a different kind of darkness than sleep. Half awake, I squinted open my eyes to see a silhouette standing by the window. It was Alex, holding one of my Nerf footballs. He opened the window, tossed the ball out, and then, another one. Confusion battled sleep in my head. Why was he throwing my stuff out the window? Before I could even form a question, Alex grabbed my precious PlayStation, cords dangling ominously. This was when the sleep finally wore off, panic rising like bile in my throat. Finally, I croaked out, "What are you doing?" He jumped, startled, like he'd forgotten I was even there. He dropped the PlayStation with a clatter and bolted out of my room. Now, fully awake and utterly freaked, I stumbled out of bed. The front door slammed shut. He'd left. Confused and scared, I found my missing Nerf balls strewn on the lawn and crawled back into bed, the silence punctuated only by my hammering heart. The next morning, I told my parents, who were just as baffled as I was. Sleepwalking, maybe. But nothing ever came of it from his side. For the next 2 weeks, Alex vanished. No sign of him, his parents acting like ghosts themselves. Then, one warm summer night, I was glued to my video games when a strange urge struck: fresh air. Opening the window, I glanced out and froze. Standing at the edge of the yard, bathed in moonlight, was Alex. He stared at me, a black hole in the night, then turned and melted into the shadows. That was it. I never saw him again. The school year came around, but his desk remained empty. His family moved, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. What was his deal? Why the nerve balls, the PlayStation escape attempt, the creepy night vigil? These are mysteries that still linger, a chilling reminder of the bizarre sleepover that left me with more questions than friends. So yeah, folks, be careful who you invite for a sleepover. You never know what secrets and strange behaviors might come knocking on your window in the dead of night. This happened when I was 14, at my best friend Lucas's house. His parents were out for the night, so naturally, video games all night long, right? Except, there was a slight snag: Lucas hadn't exactly cleared this sleepover with his folks. Oops. Anyway, after hours of blasting zombies in Call of Duty, exhaustion hit. Blankets and pillows in tow, we headed upstairs to Lucas's room for some much-needed shut-eye. Now, I'm a light sleeper, so when a melody drifted through the window in the dead of night, I bolted upright. Peeking outside, I saw a car parked in the driveway. Lucas, bleary-eyed, confirmed it wasn't his parents' ride. Here's where things went south. The car was running, empty. We crept downstairs, hearts pounding like bass drums, only to find the front door wide open. A primal fear coiled in my gut. Lucas's room was at the end of the hall, the last bastion of safety, or so we thought. As we turned the corner, a figure lunged for Lucas, snatching him and vanishing down the hall. Terror surged through me, replacing any lingering drowsiness. Without a second thought, I bolted after them. Through the living room we raced, Lucas screaming, the figure gaining ground. Bursting out the front door, I spotted a creepy green and tan van idling on the curb. This was it. Panic fueled my legs as I sprinted towards them. Thankfully, a shovel, abandoned by Lucas's forgetful dad, lay by the flower bed. Grabbing it like a lifeline, I charged. With a yell that surprised even myself, I slammed the shovel into the figure's leg. They both crumpled, and I scrambled to help Lucas up. The van screeched away, leaving a cloud of dust in its wake. A neighbor, alerted by the commotion, was already dialing 911. The police arrived, swarmed the place, but no sign of our attackers. The car in the driveway. Another mystery. Maybe an accomplice with cold feet, maybe a red herring. We never found out. Needless to say, sleepovers at Lucas's have never been the same. The memory of that night hangs heavy, a chilling reminder of the night a carefree hangout turned into a fight for survival. So yeah, folks, always let your parents know where you're crashing, and maybe invest in a good security system. You never know when a fun night with friends might turn into a scene straight out of a horror movie. Stay safe out there. Love these stories? Listen to other scary stories for continuous 2 hours. Click on the video on your screen.